Have you ever felt like you've tried every single dandruff product out there, but those annoying flakes just keep coming back? Yeah, you are definitely not alone. Today, we're going to look at a completely different way to tackle dandruff, one that comes from a trichologist, that's a hair and scalp expert, and it's all about getting to the real root of the problem. I'm sure this sounds familiar, right? You see the flakes, you grab a special shampoo, and hey, for a little while, things seem to get better. But then it always seems to come back. It's this super frustrating cycle, and it can make you feel like you'll never find a real solution. So let's actually dig into this cycle, because once you understand it, you can finally figure out how to break it. For the longest time, the way we've been told to think about dandruff has been, well, kind of one-dimensional. And this comes straight from trichologist William Gaunitz. He's seen so many people who've literally spent their entire lives trying one dandruff shampoo after another, even the strong prescription stuff. So the problem isn't that people aren't trying hard enough, it's that we've been aiming at the wrong target. You see, most of those shampoos are just built to manage the symptoms. They might try to control the oil on your scalp, that's the sebum, or they might just be trying to get rid of the flakes themselves, but they never actually address why you have those symptoms in the first place. And worse, some of the harsh ingredients, like certain sulfates, can actually strip your scalp and make the whole situation even more unbalanced. And that brings us to the real game changer here. It requires us to think totally differently about our scalp. The problem isn't just flakes or oil, it's about a whole living ecosystem up there that's been thrown completely out of whack. It turns out your scalp is basically a tiny little city for a community of microorganisms. It's called the scalp microbiome, and when this little ecosystem is happy and balanced, your scalp is healthy. Simple as that. But when it gets disrupted, certain yeast can start to overgrow, and that's what leads to dandruff. So the goal isn't to blast your scalp clean, it's to gently bring back that natural balance. This really just lays it all out, doesn't it? The old way is a temporary fix. You're always just fighting the symptoms. But this natural approach is about finding a long-term solution by making the scalp healthy again. It's like you can keep pulling weeds out of your garden forever, or you can actually fix the soil so the weeds stop growing in the first place. So if restoring that balance is the goal, what's the tool? Well, according to the expert, the solution is actually pretty straightforward, and you don't need a prescription to get it. It's a natural clarifying shampoo, and here's the key, you use it every single day. Now, that consistency is so important. Unlike those medicated shampoos you might only use a couple of times a week, this is about giving your scalp that continuous, gentle support it needs to reset its own ecosystem. So what does natural clarifying shampoo even mean here? Well, we're not talking about stripping your hair. We're talking about using really specific, powerful ingredients from nature. Things like tea tree oil, which is a fantastic natural antimicrobial, plus rosemary oil and lavender essential oils. These are amazing natural agents that help get those microorganisms in check without being super harsh. Okay, but how do these ingredients actually do the job? How do they restore that balance we keep talking about? Let's break down the process. It really boils down to 3 simple steps. First, those essential oils gently start to get the overgrowth of microbes under control. Then that naturally brings down the levels of that pesky yeast that causes all the irritation and flakes. And the end result? Your scalp's microbiome gets restabilized and it can finally get back to its healthy, happy state. And this, right here, is the ultimate payoff. When your scalp's ecosystem is balanced, the dandruff symptoms just fade away. You get less buildup, less irritation, and a really nice bonus is that your hair is probably going to be healthier too, because it's growing from a much better foundation. All right, now for the question I know you're asking. If I make this switch, how long before I actually see a difference? It's really important to know what to expect. Generally, you should give it about 4 weeks. And that totally makes sense, right? This isn't some quick chemical fix. It's a biological process. You're helping a complex ecosystem find its balance again, and that just takes a little time for everything to settle down and stabilize. But here's some really good news. A lot of people actually start to see their scalp stabilize way sooner than 4 weeks. The number one factor is just being consistent with that daily use. That's what gives your scalp the steady support it needs to heal itself. So here's the big takeaway. Instead of being stuck in a lifelong battle with flakes, always reaching for another temporary fix, maybe the answer isn't to fight harder, but to start rebalancing. By focusing on the health of your scalp's microbiome, you might just find that long-term relief you've been searching for.